I have returned from the mountain. You know, I was the last few days, last 2 nights, I have slept a few hundred meters from the last known living space of the last witch in Norway who was burnt at the stake in the town that I live. Allegedly. It's a local tale. But there is nothing to there is no doubt that there is magic up there. I think she picked that spot because of a reason. Me and Harold. You know, Harold is his nickname. There's a big story behind why he calls himself Harold the Viking or Harold Nordstrom. Nordstrom is his family name that he traced back to Sweden, to the Viking Age. But his name for family and friends is Kyle. I've been struggling to try to call him Kyle the last week, you know? We slept up there in cabin because I figured after we were done with the legacy fire, we were done with the meeting new people. That was also just he took part in something that was not expected, but it happened. I'm gonna share this in a video, I think, and I think I mentioned it. Singe, who instantly saw. You know, he was on his journey, and he saw the journey. He saw the magic in what we were doing. He saw the magic in what was happening in terms of us meeting, and we exchanged details, and that's going to be a very interesting development, just to see how that's going to go. I blew the horn of Heimdall, yellow horn, which is the horn that is fabled to wake the gods when Ragnarok comes, which was interesting. We went up to the mountain, and I'm not going to share that, actually. There was some complications with the lock, with the gate in the beginning, where normally I can open it. See, I'm sharing it already, so might as well. We came up at night, around the same time that you sent these messages, 10 p.m. my time. When we come up, I see that there are 2 padlocks on this gate now. And I kind of give up before I try. I've secured the code before and thought it was impossible to use, but it wasn't. Figure out that today. But we went up and we had to walk, and it's about like 4 kilometers walk, and he was blown away at every single point. The food that I introduced him to, the sites that I took him to, the experiences that I wanted him to see or to go through and have. It all very much went through every expectation that I had, and his as well. There was a story about Singe. He knew a guy called Tor, so it was very like, Tor, right? And his friend, he has a tourism or a touring company, or he just gives tours. So, tours, right? But he also does a very specific kind of tour. Because in England, a mound or a small mountain is called a tor. So Tor is touring tours. It's tours. So of course I was like, that was amazing, right? And I said, that's like tourism. And that started something in my mind, because I was kind of showing Harold or Kyle what tourism was. You know, I was taking him through the adventure. So that was fun. And then all of a sudden, like 3 or 4 people come to the bench. By this point, we had started the fire, legacy fire that had been running since the day before. We started it by the 3 of us going around it and using dragon breath, which is like when you do this and you blow. You can focus your airstream and just do it from a distance and hold it longer, and there's a lot. So we were sitting around the fire, the 3 of us, or the ember, and we got it to burn. So it was a very long burning sacred fire. And goddamn, the things that happened around that fire, the people that met, the conversations, all that. I'm not sure if I've shared this before, but this is where we went into the North Sea. But before we did that, these 3 or 4 people came to the bench, and I introduced myself, and he said, "Thor?" I said, "Did you say that because you heard me say that to him?" "Thor." So, "Oh, your name is also Thor." "Yeah, it's Thor," right? I was like, haha, funny. And then another guy reached out to greet himself, and he's also named Thor. So there's Singe, like, "What the fuck? You're sitting there with 2 toes." So there's 3 toes. But no, there was 4 on the same side of the freaking bench. It was me and 3 other tours. It was weird. And this is just after I've heard him talk about touring tours. And him seeing 2 ravens flying over the bloot. A bloot is a ceremony, right? And they have this opening ceremony at Midgard's. So what they do is use blood magic, and they soak everyone in blood. And it was like, are you sure that is a good idea? There are people in there that is not really, aware enough to know how powerful it is what they're doing, but they did. And as that happened, Singe had been derailed from the whole bloot because of a guy that came up to him and just started to talk about what they did, and he was like, "Blood magic? No. Oh." He just went up and sat on a hill somewhere, or a tor, as they would say in other places. The 2 ravens come over at the moment where they started the whole blood ritual. Well, that's interesting. So going back to the mountain, then, on this mountain we do specific things. We have ceremony. It's a very different type of ceremony, but we came up, and Kyle was blown away at a lot of everything, So much so that I didn't manage to show him the full experience, that blew my mind. But I took him up to the cabin, and we got ready, and first thing we do is start a fire. In this case, the gas was out. Normally there's gas up there, but there was nothing left, so we had to start a fire for the water as well to make the tea. We did that, and I just brought the remainder of my supply, right? So there was not a lot. I'd say that like 2 grams. But we did the medicine, and I sat in the journey, like I was sitting in the same position for a while, feeling and reflecting and listening and learning, and all the things. And I managed to purge 4 times. So I'm sitting there, I'm just trying to go as deep as I can to remove the whole shit that I have to release, shed a few layers, and I did that 4 times. And during this whole experience, Kyle had found my deck. Now I have a deck of not here, of cards that is kind of like tarot, but it's not. It's 81 cards based on different things from Norse mythology and what they symbolize. And this card deck belongs to a what do you say? It is almost like a tarot, but it's called Bifrost, so it's for Norse, and you put them in a specific, order like Yggdrasil. So you have the future, the past, you have the subconscious, the conscious, you have the challenges, you have the things that are helping, and all that stuff. 9 in total, 9 different cards in that spread. So he had taken up the book, and he had read the rules, and he laid them out. Now, this is where things got interesting. In Asgard, I'm going to just go quickly over it, and if I'm remembering all of this right now, it's also pretty significant for me, because that's interesting, given what it said. In Asgard, the top card, we had Mimir, which is the god of wisdom in Norse mythology. He is the one who lost his head, and Odin keeps him as a advisor, so he keeps his head alive with magical herbs and shit. Interesting stories in Norse mythology, by the way, so just brace yourself. After that, we had Tyr. Tyr is the god that is the only one who could contain the Fenris wolf, and when the gods got him tied down, Tyr kind of soothed Fenris by putting his hand in his mouth and said that if they do trick you, this is my pledge. He doesn't have his arm. Like, he lost his left arm. I think it was the left arm. But the thing is, he is the only one who then can kind of contain Ragnarok, who can hold it back. And he is the god of justice and conflict and converse. Like, he's the righteous god, one of the strongest. And if you have him, basically, you have a lot of protection. He's a good guy to have on your team, right? And then we have the next one, which was the present, and we had Skuld, which was a one of three gods or Norns, and you have the past, present, and future. We have the past Skuld. So the past was kind of being reconciled in the present, which was very interesting. And on a subconscious level, we had Loki, who had been there all the time, so nothing was as it seems. It was also interesting. There's a long story behind Loki because he's kind of he's part of everything when it comes to Norse mythology. He's the one who fucks up, and he's the one who fixes the problems. He's the one people hate. He's the one people love. He's a partner. He's everything, but he's kind of seen as the bad guy. So when he's there, he's the trickster. So you have to kind of watch out. Everything is to be questioned. And that was interesting as well. So he landed in Svartalfheim, which means in this context, the subconscious. So he's been there all along. Or this whole illusion has been there all along. That is also something to reflect on. The thing is also, I'm still trying to process the spread, the cards that Harold or Kyle picked, because these cards were very interesting in terms of he picked them, but they resonated a lot with how I felt, and it seemed like it resonated the whole situation, the experience, the journey that we were both part of. So there was a lot, as you say, there is a lot of things that is happening right now that is of, it's tough. Everyone is walking through some sort of a storm, it seems, right now. Not even everyone, but the people who are aware. For the people who are not aware, it seems like things are coming to the surface extremely fast and they're kind of losing their shit. And they need help. But everything's going on, right? That's the point. And to some degree, then, it seems like everyone is going through some sort of Ragnarok, the end of the old and the beginning of the new. It gets me interested. But let's continue. And we have 5 cards in the first spread, in the stem of Yggdrasil, basically. We have Asgard, or in this case, we have Mimir, Tyr, Skuld, Loki, and then Ymir. Ymir is the foundation, basically, to everything. In Norse mythology, the world and everything is made out of Ymir because they dismembered him and he was so huge. He was like the first being. He was the thing that got created from the sparks of Niflheim and Muspelheim. And Muspelheim is the fire and Niflheim is the ice, and the merging of these created the mist and the spark and the void and everything that kind of begets life. Ymir was the first of these, and he was like a proto giant. He was a hermaphrodite. It had no gender, but it had all genders, more genders than one can name. And one of his legs had a 6-headed son with its other leg. Norse mythology is weird. Odin is the most powerful of all gods, right? Well, he was born by Ymir. Him and his brothers kind of popped out of his armpits, and they were the one who killed him, or it. They made the heavens of the skull. Midgard, aka the human world where we are, is made out of Ymir's eyelashes. Right, you believe it, you know. There's a lot of interesting stories when it comes to this. But the point is that it is the beginning, and it is like a completely open blank slate. If one could see it like this. And in terms of the spread, he was placed in Hel. Hel is a realm that could be considered as the land of the dead, but it is a dimension. It is a world. It is like a part of the branch of Yggdrasil, one of the worlds that is in it. So in this case, I think it meant the subconscious or the challenge. The challenge, what is basically keeping things a little bit back, what is in the way. And in that case, with Ymir, is like the fucking existence, everything, the perspective of the world and how people are not seeing this new reality. It was like, this card this spread is getting pretty interesting, right? And so we look at the other cards where we had Fulla. Fulla is the servant of Freya. And she gets a lot. Freya or Frigg? Don't quote me on that. She gets all the secrets from this god, and the god is that of femininity and love and relationships and fertility, and you get the point. The abundance, and the keeper of secrets. That came as something that is probably going to be coming very soon. The feminine insight. Seems like it's already happening, I'm going to get to that. I'm not going to get ahead of myself. And then we have Gna, the messenger of the gods, which came in another placement that I have to still research, but very powerful, right? A message that came in a different way than others. And it seems like that has been exactly what has been going on for at least this last week has been pretty insane when it comes to all these. But let's go over to the other side. We had the rule of 3, which is also very interesting, given the fact that we are 3 people now that are actively doing things, and we just met. That has been reoccurring many times. It was also mentioned in another card deck, or another tarot reading, with 3 ravens. There is a lot. And then we had Brock. The last card was Brock. Brock was the master smith. He was the creator of the weapons of the gods. He could create the ever-growing hair of Freya, or Siv. I'm actually not sure if he was the one who created it. I do believe that he is the one who created the ring of Odin that drips 8 other golden rings and a 9th on during 9 days or something. During each 8 nights, 8 days. Not sure. There's a lot of story in there. But Brock signifies master craftsmanship and innovation and new things. Lots of new things. And new things have been happening. For instance, I don't know if you saw this, but the picture that he got of me sitting in my own backyard, basically, has some sort of a feeling to it. And we have been trying to create new things. We're trying to renew and upgrade things. And we are just doing that now. We're like literally in the process. So having that card there was also very interesting. I don't really remember what the placement was or what that placement means, but with the whole collective, presence of the cards, I was like, shit, Interesting. Now, that was the first night. That was when we did the mushrooms, that he laid the cards. And we went through it. We went through the experience. He was kind of blown away. And at the end, we started to be able to talk to each other. And I asked him, want to come out on the porch and just watch the skies and listen to music? And then I figured, what if? What if I played the Legacy song, actually? And I did. That blew him away because he hadn't really heard the lyrics. And the interesting thing about that song is that I had just discovered that this thing called AI had been dropped way back when. So when OpenAI and when AI became a tool that we had access to, I had just started to test it out. So I was sitting on a stump of a tree outside of the cabin one tribe experience back in the day, and I was just reflecting and writing down what I had gone through and what the area was like and everything that we have done in the experience. And it was like a trip report, kind of, but also just getting all of my thoughts and the full visual, basically, of the place and the experience that we've had down into this tool and see what it can do. And I said, turn this into a song, maybe, right? And so I got the lyrics, and then I played the song that day. I went up to the cabin and I found the phone and I just started to scroll through the lyrics, and I had no idea how to play the guitar, but I just took it and I started to strum, and all of a sudden there was a song there, but I couldn't really get it performed and make it, respected as I should, kind of. I wasn't capable of performing it. But then another AI tool came along, and I just tried to put the text inside of there, just the whole lyrics, and it spit out fucking art. The Legacy song had been born. It is about that place of that experience that we had just gone through, and he is still at the ending of it. So far, this guy has gone through a lot of interesting stuff on this experience, and he is kind of trying to come to grips and accepting and getting his mind blown all the time. And so I put on the song, and we watch the sky, and there's a thunderstorm coming, and there are layers of clouds, and I wasn't able to get this on the camera, like on the pictures, because I had like less than 100 megabytes left of storage on my phone. That did horrible things. So the clouds were going like this, right? As we were listening to this song, and I'm looking at him, and he's gazing at the cabin nestled neath the trees, while he's sitting on the porch of the cabin that is built in the trees. Right? And he looks at me and is like, what? Because by this point, that's not possible. Like, you can't get above what we've gone through. There's no way, but we're doing it, right? And here I am sitting like, this is amazing. This is literally it. I wrote in my magic book. Every time I'm up there, I'm trying to write, if there is a ceremony, I try to write one page in this parchment, this little leather book with parchment. And this time I was going into this song that had a very strong rhythm, and I was going with the rhythm, and runes came, right? And I wrote down the runes, and then I continued it on the other page, and I wrote, all is as it should be. And it feels like it. It really feels like it. So he really loved it, and it got me an idea that would be freaking amazing to do on experiences when I have other people as well. Tourism was kind of born. By this point, we figured we were going to go back to the festival, back to the fire, which was 4.5 hours away. And I said to him, now? We can't now. We're still under the effect. So he said, no, not now. We have to rest a little bit first. So we go in. I get a few texts from a partner. And I try to stay awake for as long as I can. But I arranged that. I asked if they wanted to come up, or actually, my daughter had asked to spend a day and do something, and I invited them to the cabins. When they came, the plan was to just spend a night at a cabin, or just a day. But my daughter was enjoying the fuck out of herself, so everyone was having a good time. Figured, instead of going back to the fire, this is actually Kyle's idea. Kyle did something too, by the way. He's not a drawer, but he drew a face of a person that he met at Midgardsflot with different tattoos and stuff. And he wrote something. And when we saw that, it was like, okay, we have to go back. But when we were enjoying ourselves on Ceremony Mountain, he basically came to the conclusion that he wanted to do another pilgrimage next year. So he's going to see her next year and show her the page and tell her the story. And, he'd shown armor last time, this kind of on pictures. This time he can come with the armor on. That, I think, is going to be amazing. So we decided to just book another night at the cabin. And we did. And my partner and my daughter stayed over. This also meant that we had more time, so we started to go on a mountain hike. We went to the top of the summit. Kyle has shared a few pictures of this, and we built a cairn, a huge cairn. I'm saying huge, it was so huge, or heavy. I can't show it right now because you can see something on the finger. It's not too bad, but basically we tried a bit too big of a rock to start with. And we also we were arrogant, we were ignorant, we were non-experienced. This is why experience is very important. We tried to just lift this huge stone. And instead of managing that, it came back down and it rolled over my finger and was like, So we figured out we were going to create a ramp out of other rocks. And by that point, we figured this works. So we could build even more. And we built a cairn that was bigger than us. Took some pictures and figured, how cool would it be then to have a set of coordinates to this cairn where they have to people come up from all over the world. If they're part of the legacy game, they can then find something very, very interesting and next step type of thing at that cairn. Because it requires effort. So it would be freaking amazing. Just have a plaque with the images of us building it and the next clue. Tourism. I'm telling you, it's gonna kick off. But we went back down and we talked long into the night. And I got to talk a little bit with my partner. The only thing that is the issue is the lack of communication, the lack of awareness of probably both sides, but mostly in terms of what I do in all of this. So, yeah, it's just communication between people. It's so freaking important. So we talked long into the night, and it was a healing visit for all of us. I think my daughter also enjoyed a lot. So I have to go back because it can't be so that my daughter goes up, but not my son. So he needs to go up there, which is a good excuse to do it again. But came back down today, hiked down the mountain, of course, which was so freaking exhausting because the body has gone through a lot at this point. Everyone was feeling it. But we came down to the city. We had dinner together, all four of us. And we went up to the mountain. After, of course, I've shown him a milkshake of Norwegian nature. It seems like those are very, very interesting and different. All the types of foods I've shown him, he has experienced a very interesting experience. Very not the same as in the US. Which gives me a new perspective on the food that I have in my country, right? We come up to the mountain after all this. He had enjoyed a milkshake. and we sat down in the couch. He went to have a shower. I'm sitting there trying to figure out how many secrets there are in Hogwarts, playing Hogwarts Legacy, which is a freaking amazing game, by the way. Finally, I feel I can actually relax a little bit. So when he was done, I went into the shower, and when I came out, he had gone up to the room where he's sleeping, and he's still asleep. Yeah, it was a good update actually. And tomorrow we might just go around, take some pictures, and prepare for the departure because he's leaving on Tuesday, I believe. Monday or Tuesday, and it has been a adventure without equal. Even though it's what we do every day almost. The sauna, the North Sea. I gotta say, I'm feeling more fortunate now than I did before he came because I don't really consider the fact that most people don't have that. So trying to, support in giving people that seems to be a very, 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 very helpful and healing and transformational reset for them. They get new perspectives that allows them to really see a lot more than they did. He still can't tell the story. It's a lot, and I understand that because I've been through it myself, but I really look forward to hear his reflections on this and what he took from it and what he shares about it. Because so far I've had 3 to 4 people up there in that capacity and nobody has talked about it. They'd have no idea how helpful it would be if they actually talked about the things that we've put into life. But here's the thing, many people fear it because it is illegal to some degree to be healed in that way. Yeah, there's going to be a huge story, or many smaller ones. I think I'm coming to the grips. I'm coming to grips with the fact that I will always have a tale from the story, and the story itself is a ever evolving one, and that's why it's hard for me to tell the story of 11/11/22 and all these other, connecting stories. That is just building a bigger and bigger and bigger story. I've come to the grips. Why did I say the before that? I've come to grips with my role almost. That on these events and experiences, and just in general everyday life, stories will come when they're relevant, and there's no real need to force the story because those people who needs to hear the story, they're already where they need to be, and that is cool. I don't have to really stress with anything. I can just create, innovate, try to see where can we take this now that we have so many new things. I don't know if you've noticed, but I have a new thing behind here. That card is a spark key. We all remember the spark key by now. The spark key there is signed by King Harald Fairhair, the first king of Norway, or the actor that played him in Vikings on Netflix. So yeah, my life is an adventure, and I hope that other people can realize that it is not that hard. It's just going and seeing what if, go where it matters. I think that I'm just very blessed because I've done a few things that was uncomfortable, and because of that, I have a low threshold for trying to do something if I feel like I want to do something, and then I have a solution-oriented mindset, so I figure out the solution to do what I want while I'm doing it mostly. That has been the status so far. Building the plane in the air, seeing if we are going to be able to install a good enough autopilot at one point. But it's amazing. Thank you for listening. That was 35 minutes. Damn, you're a troop. May you have a magical day. I'll see you in the next one. I'm gonna soon go up and see if Kyle is ready to step back into the land of the living.